did you name me Stevie Nicole? There was a last name also, but it was like, why is Stevie Nicks, not Stevie Nicole? And the mother was, well, I don't know. It was just very funny.
Didn't think about
but
it.
very, yeah, but serious. I mean, you have the most serious intent. I mean, and then the lookalikes, the dress-alikes. I mean, when you look into that audience, and I understand you can see them these days out there, right?
My eyes are fixed.
Your eyes are fixed, and you're paying attention. And what is that like to see literally hundreds of women trying to look like you? It's strange.
I don't really look at it that way,
okay.
I look more into their faces, and into their hearts, and then I don't look at them at all. One of the two, I don't stand up there and go, the little girl last night I thought was dressed totally cool and had a little bit of my influence.
Right.
And that was just that's really fun, because if that's going to be an influence, then that I like, that I can enjoy.
Yeah. Well, when you first started, I guess you first started with the Buckingham Nicks record, as I mentioned, was the first record that we got from you, right? And you had come to L.A., I guess. I think we talked about this. We did a broadcast a couple of years ago when you played live at the Whiskey, and we talked a little bit about your early days. But you came to L.A. trying to make it and almost gave up, right, at one point. And then you did the Buckingham Nicks record with Lindsay.
Right.
And then it was a couple of years after that you finally went into...
No, it wasn't. I didn't almost give up until after the Buckingham Nicks album.
Oh, right.
And I only almost gave up because my father said, well, you're always complaining and you're always sick and you never have any money and this thing is going nowhere. So maybe you should put a goal on this. And I said, well, all right. So he said, so why don't you give it 6 months? And if nothing happens in 6 months, then will you go back to school? And I said, okay. I will. And I thought to myself, okay, and then you'll support me again. And then I can move away from Lindsay and live in a nice apartment, have a nice car, and no problems. And I'll just go back to school if that's what
what would you have studied? What would you...
I probably would have just finished out my 5 years at San Jose State and gotten a degree. Speech communication, creative speaking, writing, I would have taught.
And been happy doing that, do you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I would have worked music in.
Yeah.
I would have probably been singing songs to teach people things, I would have been like hooked on phonics. Hooked on me. I would have done something like that. I would have, I would have figured out some way to work art and music into teaching, because kids respond to that.
So what happened? The Buckingham Nicks record didn't really happen, but then...
I joined Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
That was around Halloween of 74. And on New Year's Eve, 74, Mick called and asked us if we wanted to join the band.
Based on the Buckingham Nicks record? Or
Based on Lindsay's guitar playing from the Buckingham Nicks album.
Really? They didn't know they were getting you in the bargain.
No, they knew they were getting me, but they knew they weren't getting him without me. Because they knew he wasn't going to leave me without... He wasn't going to leave me, so they knew that. So they had to take me. They already had a girl. They didn't need another girl.
Right, Christine.
Right.
Now, that Buckingham, we mentioned the Buckingham Nicks record, which I played Frozen Love earlier. And I asked you last night, I mean, I had heard that you were the one that didn't want it out, but it's really, it's okay with you if they would reissue it.
It's me that wants it out. It's him that won't call me back.
And Lindsay doesn't want it out, It's a beautiful record.
I don't know if it's that he doesn't want it out or if he just takes pleasure in irritating me. And
I see.
So he's just not returning my call just because he knows I'm probably getting madder every day.
Get me Lindsay on the phone. I want to settle this.
I wish you would. Everybody I talk to, I tell them, why don't you, say something, because I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I did say something to him. I honestly can't remember. He kind of just brushed it off. He didn't really give me an answer. Because it is a beautiful record, and it's the kind of thing, by virtue of its not being available, it has become more legendary, perhaps. But it's a great record that didn't really make it nationally. This station played it, 1973, I think it was, and then we played it, and it's legendary here. And I know people come up to you with a record, and everybody's so proud if they have it. And where'd you get it? Well, hey, I got it when it came out, But it was never out on CD, and it's out of print, and it's a great record. Let's see here. What else are we're going to talk about the new? Oh, well, what happened? You joined Fleetwood Mac. I went backstage. I remember. You probably don't remember this either, but I went backstage. You opened maybe for the Straubs or somebody here, or somebody else. Fleetwood Mac opened for somebody at the Tower Theater. That so-called White Album had just come out. was not a hit yet. It had just literally come out, and I don't even know if I'd heard it. But I went back and I kind of had known Fleetwood Mac from their earlier incarnations, and went back and met you and Lindsay and said, yeah, you guys are, you know, it was a little understatement, but you know, guys are great, and this band's great, and you got some good material, and this could happen, you know, that kind of brilliant prognostication. But it was really overwhelming to see you guys as an opening act come out with this new lineup and new material, and it was a wonderful era, and you went on to, I mean, as much success as you can have in the business.
We went through. Yeah. We opened for everybody,
right.
And we headlined for everybody.
Right.
So
right.
we did.
Right.
We've been on the opposite ends of every bill possible.
And funny, you know, with this year of reunions, Eagles and so on, making all the money with the big ticket prices. I mean, you know, you told us earlier now why you kind of called it quits, but you would think that a band like that would probably try to just stick it out and go for the money and just try to just keep going.
We did stick it out. I mean, we stayed together until... I didn't leave until after the inauguration. Lindsay left exactly 5 years before that. Rick and Billy joined and gave up 5-6 years of their life. And, you know, and then we went on. We didn't, like the Eagles, really, they didn't want to see each other, talk to each other, know anything about each other, have anything to do with each other, and didn't. Until they decided that they wanted to make $100 million.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they all said, okay, I can swallow my pride for the summer. And, you know, and have my own trailer. And go on a different plane if I feel like it, or if I'm having a good time, maybe I'll stay for a couple extra months. You know, they.
So the chances are we're not the
same thing.
We're not going to see that with Fleetwood Mac. Is that what?
Well, you're not going to see me in it.
Okay, all right. We've got a new album from Stevie. Just came out a couple months ago, I guess. Street Angel, and it's got Bob Dylan playing harmonica on Just Like a Woman, and it's got a song called title track, Street Angel. You want to talk a little bit about that? We got people. We've got people here. I was telling you, we got people driving home from the shore now. They're in their cars. They're stuck in traffic somewhere. So we've got them. So we're happy to have Stevie Nicks here with us and friends, and just entertain them a little bit tonight. Tell us about Street Angel. You titled the album for it.
Okay. What Street Angel was written at a hotel in Los Angeles, the Peninsula Hotel. I had to leave my house that I lived in because my house was attacked by bees. And it was a 5-story house that kind of like a New York house, just went straight up. And I lived there, Liza lived there, and 3 or 4 or 5 other people lived there. And we all had to go because the bees were so intense that they had to come in and move the bees. Not kill them, just move them. And I went to the Peninsula, and that particular week there was 2 movies on TV about homeless people, and there was also a lot of stuff on CNN about it. And I was really very, very touched at how sad the situation was. And I didn't have any solutions or any, you know, this is not a political song. What I did was I was just kind of looking out at Hollywood and the sparkly lights and the people that are walking up and down the street. And I thought, you know, how wild it would be if I was out there and I didn't have a place to go, if I didn't have a place to sleep. This would be, to me, the most frightening thing of all. Kind of like, just as long as you have enough money to pay your rent, you can accept just about anything. But as soon as somebody starts threatening with taking your house away, that's really frightening to me. So I just wrote a song about a girl that had been brought up on the streets and was very much kind of a street gypsy. You know, she didn't have any special place to live, but her family was there and her friends, and she was kind of she was a street angel. And this really rich guy fell in love with her and really tried to convince her to go with him and to not be poor anymore and to, you know, to marry him and to leave her world. And in the end, she really couldn't do that. She really couldn't leave her life. She really couldn't change and be a rich man's lady. And so she, in order to make him let her go, and in his mind let her go and go on with his life, she let it be known to him that she had killed herself, that she had committed suicide, that she'd fallen down the steps and been killed. And you don't hear voices anymore. He doesn't hear her voice anymore. And she went away, you know, because she really couldn't live his kind of life. So, when people, it is about somebody with no home, but it's also about being very attached to a way of life.